We are in the World War II gallery at the San Diego Air and Space Museum, and back of me is a P-51D model. This is one of the most significant airplanes of World War II. It was the best of the American fighters in World War II. It was designed for long-range escort duty of the bombers that were flying out of England to attack Germany's industrial base. The earlier airplanes, the P-38, the P-47, and the Spitfire did not have the range to escort the bombers all the way to the target. The Mustang could go all the way to the target. Chuck Yeager, who flew the Mustang and also flew the Spitfire at points, he made the statement that the main difference between a Spitfire and a P-51 is the P-51 can do for 7.5 hours what a Spitfire can do for 45 minutes. And they flew these incredibly long missions. Most of the aces of World War II were P-51 pilots. Now the P-51 is actually kind of two stories to it. First of all, the P-51 was designed in 1940. First flights were made in 1940. We were attempting to help out Britain, and so the British needed an air-to-ground airplane. So they started making what they call the A-36 Apache. Very similar, looks very much the same. The differences between the two is it had a lesser engine making about 1,400 horsepower. Later on, the British, who bought 500 of these airplanes, the A-36, they had less horsepower, shorter range, more firepower. It had 2 guns over the nose plus the 6 on the wings. The A-36, as it was developed, the British discovered that if we put a Rolls-Royce Merlin in this airplane, it makes it a real hot rod. And then after that, they started developing the P-51 with basically the Rolls-Royce engine, which was a Packard engine, was under license and made about 1,650 horsepower. It had 2-stage supercharging and probably water injection at the same time. The airplane was great from air to air, not so great for ground attack. And the reason why is for ground attack airplanes, you really want a big radial in front of you, because with the P-51, which as you can see underneath, you have the scoop underneath for the liquid-cooled engine. And if you get one bullet through that, you're not going to fly very much longer. However, with a radial type engine, you can lose pieces of the engine and the airplane will still fly. About 15,000 P-51s were built. There's many, many still flying today. This airplane is painted up in the Tuskegee Airmen colors, and this is Roscoe Brown sitting in the cockpit. He was an ace. He also claimed to have shot down an ME-262. The ME-262 was a German jet, which was at least 100 knots faster than comparable American airplanes. The only way they could really get them is kind of wait in the landing pattern overhead and watch them either take off or land when they were going at slow speed. This airplane has an interesting history. This airplane actually did go to the war. It was actually flown to Europe in April '45. It stayed until July when it was flown back to the United States. After the war, it went to the Air National Guard for several years. And then after the National Guard, it went to Nicaragua and flew missions in Nicaragua. I'm not sure what. This is all from the logbooks we have downstairs, by the way. It came back to the United States. It was a racing plane for a bit, went into private hands, and when we received it in 1992, it flew into Montgomery Field, was assembled and brought here. It was originally painted when we got it in the colors of Contrary Mary. The Tuskegee Airmen idea was to honor the Tuskegees at the time when it was painted this. The airplane was flown as an F-51 in the Korean War. It was used there mostly as ground attack because it could not compete with the MiG-15s at the time. Airplane is a very dangerous airplane to fly, to be quite honest. It has a tremendous amount of torque. Imagine, if you will, your car, when you sit there and you rev the engine, how it moves a little bit. Well, imagine 1,500 horsepower and you're not touching the ground. So you have to be very careful advancing the throttle in this thing. If you put the power to it too soon, it'll flip upside down in a heartbeat, just like that. The tanks. The wing tanks were detachable. They could be punched off. If you were in combat, you punch the tanks off. The original tanks they had were aluminum. Later on, they developed cardboard tanks that were coated. The problem was when you punched off your tanks, the Germans just got more aluminum. So when the cardboard tanks were not only lighter, one shot use and you were done, but they couldn't be reused as material to build war machines, war materials.